Meeting minutes are approved. So this evening, we're going to be following up on the work from our last meeting of looking at the draft 2023 Commission Work Plan. And thank you, Shannon, for pulling all this together. It looks like it was a great meeting last month with a lot of input. And I think that tonight we'd like to get this draft as a final draft that would go to the City Council in early 2023 for their review and consideration. So I guess, Shannon, do you have any other comments before we start with our comments on the draft?
Yeah, so like the Chair Miller said, there was a lot of really good conversation on the draft work plan at the October EMC meeting. So there were a couple of things that I heard. One was that a general theme for next year's draft work plan is education. So we wanted to make sure to highlight a lot of the educational components that are inherent in this draft. A couple of other things that I heard were that the commission wanted to see a focus on more practical application of energy savings for our residents. So I know that last year we had focused on solar panels and electric vehicles, and that's still a topic of interest in next year's draft plan. But Commissioner Wilson in particular had basically said, instead of encouraging residents to purchase things, how can we make sure that they know about all of their options to save money, whether that be through community grants, through weatherization opportunities, through hosting a Cub Bill clinic. But that was one of the things that I took away from last meeting and tried to incorporate in this new iteration of the draft. And then as well, there was a lot of conversation around this idea of water conservation and how we can be a little bit more conscientious about promoting those kind of water conservation efforts that are available to residents. So that is another area of the draft work plan that I tried to make a little bit more action-oriented in this second iteration. To help guide the conversation, I did include at the end of the memo in the packet 4 questions, just to help the commission think a little bit about refining this work plan a little bit further. So I would encourage you all to think about if there's anything that's missing from this draft plan, if there's anything that you feel like is overemphasized and should be downplayed a little bit as far as what the commission is interested in focusing on next year. And then just if you have any thoughts about the themes that you'd like to see in particular prioritized, that will help guide my work and also will help us think through a little bit more on our 2023 communications plan as well.
Great, thank you, Shannon. And I would also like to point out that as we go through this, that our work plan does cover 3 major areas that we have been focusing on for quite a few years now, but very important to our city. One is waste. Another is energy conservation and renewable energy for greenhouse gas reductions and to address climate change. And then lastly, water quality. And I think you'll see on our work plan that we've really have that focus on those 3 environmental areas as well. So I think we'll go through the draft section by section and get comments. So the first section of our plan, the action is about EV Ready Community Study and Priority Action Implementation. And we have the description of that. I open the floor for comments on that section. Well, I guess I'll jump in here.
Yeah. Okay.
In the second area, coordinate opportunities for education around EV infrastructure and vehicle purchasing. I like the specific action underneath that about sponsoring local ride and drive and promote a local ride and drive event. I'm also wondering if we can, with our focus on education, that's a wonderful way to educate as well, but I'm wondering about specifically for vehicle purchasing, if we could develop something. The Inflation Reduction Act has new incentives for electric vehicles, and there may already be something out there, but just to have that available for people, I think understanding which electric vehicles are available, have incentives available, I think that would be helpful.
And how do we find that out?
Well, there are summary of that in the Inflation Reduction Act, and I've been meaning to look that up myself. But
okay.
it is available out there, but rather than have everybody have to go through that, I think if we could have a summary of that and potentially which vehicles would qualify, I think that'd be helpful.
Are you thinking in particular on the website or some other communication
Yeah,
channel?
we could put it on the website, and if we do have an event, have a flyer about
Sure.
it, perhaps.
Okay.
Any other comments on that section? All right, we'll move along to the next section, which is about promoting energy efficiency and renewable energy in residential and commercial properties. Any comments there?
Well, I'm just wondering if, at our next meeting in January, if we should come up with more specific ways to do the promotion and the education, like kind of a menu of what can we do, both as a commission, but also, throughout the Shannon, who helps us with everything. But even if it's just a list of what we mean by promotion,
Yep.
I think it would be very helpful, and then we can act on it ourselves or find someone who's willing to help us act on it.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up when we got to our reviewing of the editorial calendar, but I am planning on getting together with our communications specialist in December and coming up with a draft communications plan for the next year, similar to the communications plan that we had in 2021 and also in 2020. So at our January EMC meeting, that would be a great time to do exactly what you're talking about. Think a little bit more critically about what promotion means to the EMC and what you would like to see on a monthly basis.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yep.
Yeah, as part of our communications plan. And one other thought I had for this section, as well as the next section on connect low-income residents to weatherization and energy efficiency resources. There used to be in Oakdale an energy fair every year.
Okay.
At Skyview Middle School, and it hasn't happened for quite a few years now, but I'm wondering if we couldn't, as an action, have an energy fair again. Probably at the Discovery Center would be a good place, and could just have it on a Saturday afternoon or something, and to promote, a lot of these different things, and maybe invite people from, to have the the CUB, Bill Clinic, and that type of thing. Maybe have someone out there and perhaps get someone from Excel to explain their rebate programs and things.
Sure.
You know, it used to be just like a tabletop type thing with different vendors there to explain various energy savings opportunities.
And I think we could expand it to call it environmental fair or whatever, but make it inclusive so that we include the tree board and we include some other aspects in this plan. Bring out as many things as we possibly can. Maybe even have a car dealer there. Probably not.
You never know until you ask.
That's right.
I mean, there is that. I do like this because it's, what we're talking about is really, it's holistic and it kind of expands not the silo, but it expands what's going well with the solar power hour, and it takes it and it looks at the whole plan comprehensively. So I like the idea of a more inclusive event for all.
Any other comments on this section?
I have maybe a question, comment and a question, I guess. Do we have, I think the city is probably a great testimonial, but do we have other businesses that are willing to gift their story to these kinds of things in terms of testimonials? Because it's as an item in terms of how they've incorporated some solutions into their operations.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, we know that Home Furniture and the Animal Emergency Referral Center have solar panels on their buildings, and we've done a couple of business visits to maybe Home as well, but I know at least the Animal Emergency Center. So I think that there's every possibility that we could ask for them to share their story, and they would be willing to do so. And then there are other businesses in the area that have taken advantage of things like biz recycling through the county that we could also use as examples for the local community.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, well, we continue on to increase access to solar. And there is the SolSmart bronze level designation that will be researched, and anything else there? Well, one thing that I thought of it, we already are, if hosting a Solar Twin Cities Power Hour would be one thing, but to have some sort of promotion of Solar Twin Cities program, and that could be part of our communications plan, but just so we don't lose that aspect in the communications plan.
For sure.
All right, let's move along to the reduced waste generation and increased recycling. And we do have that, the funds from the recycling grant to promote recycling and waste reduction programs. And so we will have specific projects as we determine at the beginning of the year. And this could be part of that, you know, January or in February type early in the year to get that determined. So I think for me, that one's pretty well covered. Any other comments on that? No? Okay. And then promoting water conservation. And we have actually 4 bullets under this item. And I think it's pretty comprehensive. Any other thoughts here on water conservation?
Well, you've got an amazing list under bullet 2, including water infiltration, reuse, rain gardens, rainwater harvesting, green alleys, green parking lots, and so on. I like that list a lot, and it certainly would work out if we had an environmental fair or something to have some, this is what you can do explanations to
Yeah.
many of those.
That list was pulled straight from one of the best practices in the Green Step Cities program, and so there's every possibility that then there will be resources available for us to be able to promote for each of these different
Good.
items, so.
Well, I can share that from personal commissioner experience, we're going through a couple of reimbursement grant programs as homeowners through the watershed district. And I was going to assume that these were all pulled from Ramsey, Washington watershed because they read very similar to what you're talking about. So I think when we talk about native plantings, what we could, I don't know how to say this, but one of the other things we could do is look at low-mow, water, almost water-free grasses. I don't know what, it's different than what's listed here, but I'm not finding the words.
Yeah, it's like a grass alternative.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I don't know if we need to-
bee-friendly lawns, and
Yep.
Yeah.
they had no mow May last year, or this year, I guess. So there are programs that get at the same thing. We just need to know more about them.
Yep.
Yeah, I think maybe the word drought-resistant
Yeah.
plants and grasses.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, we've involved the watershed district. We've had them present at one of these meetings. And we pretty much had all 3 watersheds report at least every other year or so. So we could maybe start with the largest, the Ramsey, Washington County, with having them come and do a presentation to our commission. But, and also if we do have an event, an environmental fair or something, that would be, they could come and have a table there to talk about their programs. And I think, because I think those grant opportunities are very enticing for people to take action. Any other comments on the water section?
Are there much like designations for trees and solar and EV readiness, are there designations for water?
I don't know, but I can look that up,
Total curiosity, yeah.
for sure.
If we're talking about that 4th bullet of establishing a baseline of our local water bodies, it'd be interesting to see if there's something that we can aspire to, or we're already at a certain level.
Yeah, I think I do know that for the Green Step Cities annual reporting, there is a whole section on water quality, and I'm sure that they have some metrics or indices that would help us think about that a little bit clearer. At the very least, would point us towards what type of data that we need to be collecting in order to determine that baseline.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think that data may be collected by the watershed already. And I seem to recall seeing a report where they rate bodies of water, and there is a rating of the quality of water based on water testing and different parameters in the water. So, yeah, I think that's something that's available that we can get.
And it's not just lakes.
No, it'd be lakes and rivers and that. I don't know that, I don't think it gets down to ponds, but that would probably require more testing, but they may have something on that in the watershed. Obviously, ponds are very important in Oakdale. We have a lot of them, and I think that would, if we get down to that level, it would be helpful as well. All right, moving right along, the Green Step Cities Best Practice Action. We have the completion of the Bike and Pedestrian Plan update. And that project is moving along, and we'll be completing that next year. And I think that's going to be a big step for the city to have an update of that plan, especially with the gold line going in and the need to be people to be able to get to the gold line, not just by car. So that'll be good. And then we want to update our metrics, and we do that every year, but I think that's important for us to not only just collect the data, but if we can, hopefully the other actions we're taking will lead us to show an improvement in those metrics, moving in the right direction, and to keep our Step 5 status in the Green Step Cities program. So I think it looks like ambitious but doable plan, and something that will help us make progress on our goals for the city coming out of the 2020 comp plan. I think they're all relevant to that plan and going to help us make improvements in the environmental quality here in Oakdale. So with that, I think we just have a few additions, I think, and I think it's pretty much finalized.
Mm-hmm.
I think, do we want to, well, I guess we'll wait till we have a final draft to recommend approval or to the city council.
It's up to you. You can choose to vote to support the plan just with the amendments that we've made today.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion to support the plan with the amendments discussed this evening?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving this plan with the changes as we discussed this evening, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We have approval, and that is good to get that completed. And I think having a good plan like this really helps us with our work next year, and make sure that we are continually making progress in this city. So the next item here is the electric vehicle suitability assessment update. And I'll just remind everyone that the city is participating in Xcel Energy's Fleet Electrification Advisory Program, and that this electric vehicle suitability assessment is a primary component of that program. And we've already, this has been authorized by the mayor and the city administrator and the city council, and it is underway, and this will be an update by Shannon. So thank you.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this study for a number of meetings now. The last meeting that we had where we talked about it, I mentioned that our telematics devices were installed in the 12 vehicles that are participating in the study, and that data collection would start. Well, that's happening now, and I think is slated to wrap up here in the next couple of weeks. We're already almost at our 90-day point of data collection. I received a sort of halfway review of what the telematics devices have collected so far. So Sawatch coordinated a meeting with myself and then a couple of individuals from our public works staff just to say, here's what we're seeing so far, which was great because I was asked where the telematics devices are and I have no idea. So whatever they are, they're very subtle because nobody even knows that they are in the vehicles themselves. We have received a lot of really good information so far. Of the 12 vehicles that are participating in this study, right around 6 or so at the halfway point, we're looking like potential good candidates for transitioning to an electric alternative. That number is probably going to change. That was at 45 days of data collection. We're going all the way to 90 days in order to get a much better picture of that. But at the very least, it was kind of cool to see that there are some vehicles that look like they would be potentially good candidates. And that's kind of heartening too to know that there are options on the market today as far as electric vehicles are concerned that would be viable for Oakdale's fleet. I can imagine that the number of options will only increase as market viability becomes a little bit more steady. The next steps in this, like I said, we're probably going to wrap up data collection in the next couple of weeks. And then Sawatch will have the chance to crunch some numbers, look at their data set that they already have collected, put that data into their proprietary tool, and then give us a report back. I don't know exactly when that report is due. That will be something that we can check in with the Sawatch team in a couple of weeks when they've confirmed data collection is done. But it will go to our city council, and then also we'll have the chance to present it to you all. The whole purpose of the report is basically just to say, here's what the fleet findings are. Here's a couple of alternatives for specific vehicles as far as electric vehicle transitioning is concerned. And then really the whole goal of the report is to say, what are the dollars and cents of potentially having an EV or two or more on Oakdale City Fleet? We were told up and down that the report is really supposed to give us a sense for the economics of this decision, which I think is really important for us to know. So that also includes infrastructure needs. That will be a next step in participating in this program overall, is to help us understand if we do want an EV, what does that look like from an infrastructure standpoint? So we'll get a mountain of data, and that'll be very exciting, but it's just to help us make decisions down the road. So like I said, when that report is available, it will go to City Council, and then it will come to the EMC.
Great. Are there any questions for Shannon?
Just one, and thank you. So can you remind us, I know we've been told this before, but of the 12 initial fleet vehicles, 6 to 12, however many it shakes out to be, can you remind us of the departments and or the function of how we're determining a fleet vehicle?
Yeah.
Yep.
So fortunately, this study is pretty cross-departmental. We have vehicles from Public Works, from building inspections. We have a couple of our fire. We have one fire. A couple of the police cruisers are involved. I think we have one vehicle from forestry, maybe. But they kind of cover most of our departments here at the city. We have quite a few trucks that are involved in this study, but we also have the RAV4s from building inspection. I think the fire chief's vehicle is a sedan. The police vehicles are Ford Explorers. Yep. So it's definitely targeting a specific class of vehicle. We don't have any like small cars or sedans that are involved in this study at this point, and I don't think that there are any suggestions to transition any one of these vehicles to a smaller option. But like I said, fortunately there are a few EV alternatives that are comparable from a class perspective with what we currently have, and more coming every day.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Shannon. It's good to see that continuing to move along, and it's good to see that we have some potential ideal candidates for the transition to electric. So that ends our old business, and we'll now move to our other business, which includes the monthly review of our 2022 editorial calendar. And we have November as a recycling month, and looks like we have already taken action on that with communications on America Recycles Day, which was mid-month, and promotion of our city's pumpkin drop-off program, as well as sharing information, education about Washington County's Biz Recycling Program. So that's great to hear. And then we also have social media posts listed here, and so it looks like great progress there. And especially, I see the bike and pedestrian plan update project and the open houses that were held in October I hope we had good attendance there with that important project. Any comments on the editorial calendar?
This looks very full.
Yeah.
I will say, just anecdotally, I went and dropped off my pumpkin in the compost bin, and it was pretty full. I would say probably about half full, which was great. We didn't have any contamination of the bin, so nobody else dropped off anything other than pumpkins. So I was happy that Oakdale was the only other city participating in this other than the Environmental Center and the Northern Yard Waste Site. We decided to answer the call and set that up, and it went really well. And so I'm hopeful that we can do that again next year and promote a little bit earlier on so that our residents know that it's an option for them.
Is there a composting video?
We made one last year with a couple of our commissioners.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to reshare that video and
Oh,
just make it a little more widely available.
All right, it looks like what we have coming up for December, which is low waste holidays, good reminders there for those. And then starting off the year in January with energy efficiency, right in line with what we've been talking about this evening in our work plan. So I think that's looks really good. So any comments by any other commissioners on this? All right. Well, hearing none, we'll move on to the commissioner updates. And I guess I'd like to kick that off by saying that we have currently 3 vacancies on the Environmental Management Commission. So please consider volunteering for our commission. As you know, from what our meeting tonight, we have an ambitious work plan, and we could really use a full 7-member commission to help deliver on that. And there are a lot of fun things in that plan to get involved in, so I hope you will consider that. And if you would like to get an application, you can contact Shannon Reidlinger here at our city offices. So any other updates, commissioners?
I'll just do another plug for the Ramsey, Washington County Metro Watershed grant programs. Even though it's cold outside and the ground is frozen, their work does not stop, so they are helping us think through the infiltration tests that I did in 3 areas in our yard, and they're gonna come back with a site map and a schematic and a plan for just if we do want to do rain gardens and some erosion control and some different ways of thinking about water at our home. We're gonna have very accessible plans to work from as we engage some I was gonna say designers, but landscape architects and some contractors come spring. So super helpful, and all the resources that they have available, all you have to do is email them, and they are quick, on the spot, communicative. It's a great program. Plugging it.
And for those of you who are not in that watershed in Oakdale, we do have 2 other watershed districts with similar programs. All right, well, I think we're at the point where we have our city council liaison update and our mayor-elect.
That's me. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This time of the year for the City Council is just wrapping up the budget season. So we were required by state law to have our preliminary levy set back in September, which is always the ceiling for the city levy. And so then we spend the next few months to the end of the year kind of just doing those final revisions and polishes on the budget. So we're feeling pretty good about where we're at, and we're ready to get that buttoned up. And we will be doing that after the Truth and Taxation hearing on December 13th, I believe. So that'll be our last meeting of the year. So all residents are encouraged to come join us at City Hall and, hear a really, I think, a beneficial presentation on our city budget and where those property tax dollars goes. Our city staff does a really nice job at breaking that down, so it's helpful. In addition to the budget work that we've been doing we continue to field a number of inquiries and proposals for development in the city. Residents have probably seen cranes going up down at 4th and Helmo, so a lot happening down there. Willowbrook continues building out. Other proposals for Oakdale Marketplace have gone through the council process, so there's a lot happening here in Oakdale right now, so it's exciting. We also, last month, I believe, had the official groundbreaking for the Gold Line BRT. So that process is underway. I believe if they haven't already, they will be starting the site prep work for the Helmo-Bielenberg overpass over 94. If you've been down along Hudson Road down by Harley-Davidson, you've seen crews down there working. So that project is moving full steam ahead as well. So lots happening, but it's very exciting work. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Nothing? Come on. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of our meeting. We will not be meeting in December. We will be coming back, and we'll be actually in January, meeting on the 2nd Monday of the month, since the 3rd Monday of the month is a holiday. And so that will be our next meeting. So I would, at this point, look for a motion. Oh, and that date is January 9th, is the 2nd Monday where we'll be meeting here in the council chambers. So I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning the November 21st, 2022 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Breezy.
Go team.
So, Keith, you mentioned the